r/Screddit. What evil prank have you pulled off? My mom's laptop wallpaper was a picture of her granddaughter. I copied the picture 100 times and made her wallpaper a slideshow of the same picture over and over again, so the file would change but nothing would change visibly on the monitor. The pictures would change every 10 seconds. On one of the images I painted a tiny little curly mustache on her. So randomly for 10 seconds my niece would have a mustache. My mom thought she was either losing her mind or had a computer virus, and every time the mustache popped up, it was gone by the time she tried to show anyone. One that was played on me. I took my SATs, college entrance exams, for those outside the US on April 1st. Should have known, right? But apparently, I'm not that smart. That night I went out with a group of friends, and when I got home my mom met me with a serious look on her face. She told me that the testing committee had called, that there had been an error and all test papers from that day were lost. Everyone was being contacted to schedule a date to retake the exam. She totally sold it. Face, reactions, everything. I bought it hook, line, and sinker. And she let me believe it until lunchtime the next day. My mom is a diabolical person. One summer in college, I worked in the registrar's office, registering all the incoming freshmen. A professor who was a mentor to me was teaching freshman seminar and asked me to hand-pick a class for her. Straight A students, high SATs, whatever. So I did. 15 students, all named Sarah. I farted under the covers, then pointed at the ceiling above my GF and shouted "Spider," so she'd throw the blankets over her head. Later, when she told her parents, that turned out to be the thing that earned her dad's respect for me. Made him laugh so hard he needed an inhaler. I used to work at a science tutoring center when I was in college and my gap year before professional school. One of the things we taught very often was anatomy. So naturally we acquired a few skeletons and various skulls with some variation in how they looked or were marked, etc. Well, I was closing one night, and I knew my coworker was opening the next morning early, so before I locked up I assorted all of the skeletons and skulls in a welcome party near the front door. I had one immediately at the opening of the only door into the room with several backup skeletons and skulls just behind at a table together watching on. The best part was that you have to turn on the lights manually and that switches immediately to the side of the door opening. So when she reached down to turn on the lights she had to come face to face with some lifeless skeleton skull in the middle of the shady opening. Needless to say she screamed, and it was loud enough to make our boss come to see if she was okay. Woke up to some colorful text somehow. Still proud of that one, honestly. Two of my friends have never met each other. Before they spoke I told both of them that the other is a bit deaf. They shouted at each other for a few minutes before they realized that I'm an asshole. When my brother and I were in middle school, my brother liked to skateboard with our next-door neighbor. One day, my brother and the neighbor took the sheet of plywood from under my brother's upper bunk bed, no one slept in the upper bunk, out of the house and started making a skateboard ramp out of it in the neighbor's adjacent yard. My parents had explicitly told him that he wasn't allowed to do that. Now, in my defense, my brother teased me unmercifully, to the point of tears, on multiple occasions, so keep in mind that he had had it coming for a long time. Anyway, an evil little plan hatched in my brain. I ran to the upstairs window and yelled down at them, "Brother's name, guess what? Mom knows everything and she is so mad." Then I slammed the window shut and ran to the stairs and waited while watching my mom read the newspaper. A few moments later, my brother walks in the front door looking worried and says, "Mom, I'm so sorry." My mom, who had no idea what was going on, said, "About what?" while slowly putting the newspaper down. "For making a skateboard ramp out of the wood from the bunk bed." "You did what?" At that moment, a wave of shock and realization swept across my brother's face and our eyes met. I let out the biggest vilest little sister cackle and ran into my room. We are adults now and still laugh about it from time to time. Back in middle school, my best friend and me sent an email to a newspaper claiming to be a famous person, stating we would be running in the upcoming presidential election, and that they'd hear the details shortly. The next day, all the main newspapers over here printed it and some started speculating about the strategy, until it was all officially denied. At which point the person and their company started speculating themselves about who and why would plant such a story, unaware it was just two kids who accidentally found a spoof emailing app in the iPhone jailbroken app store. I got pranked. Does that count? Was at a house party at my then girlfriend's place. She knew me really well and knew that I've got a fairly competitive spirit. The place is really dark. She turns to me in the dim light and says, "Minam, I bet you can't fit an orange in your mouth and eat it all in one bite." Wasn't about to say no to a challenge, so I took her up on it. Only it wasn't an orange that she'd peeled but a lemon. Working in a hot factory, supervisor and job planner in this enclosed cubicle with a window AC unit in the middle of the shop, also known as Nice 68, in there while we sweat our ass off in 95 to 110 F heat. Kinda hot and picey, and always flies around. I kept grabbing the flies alive, walking into the cubicle to ask a usually legit question or saying just cooling off and opening my hand behind my back. I put 14 of those duckers in there in one shift. He never did catch on I was doing it and the planner was piss-swatting around. There were so many flies in there. Supervisor was cleaning out every crevice thinking some food is supporting life now somewhere. A friend kept trying to steal my sushi off my plate at a sushi restaurant. So while she wasn't looking, I stuffed it full of wasabi, put a bit of fish back on top to cover my tracks, and pretended to not be looking when she started reaching towards it. She tossed it into her mouth, started chewing down, and I just swung my head towards her to say, "You ducked up." 5 minutes of coughing, muffled screaming, and copious amounts of water later, she had learned her lesson. I created a fake uniform policy poster for my high school. It wasn't perfect, but people were idiots, so they fell for it. It took everyone about a week to actually read the poster and see that it was obviously fake. Some people still showed up on the first day wearing the uniform that I designed. Edit: the uniform wasn't anything idiotic looking. Just khaki pants, white button shirt, church shoes, and black socks. The outrage was mostly from the fact that people couldn't wear their name brand clothes as a flex. The supervisor at my office is a short little man who likes to work from a laptop on a rolling adjustable desk. For over a year I gradually raised the height of this desk and watched as he went from sitting on a stool, to an adjustable tall task chair, to standing. Last week he removed the wheels from the desk to lower the height. He doesn't realize it's adjustable. Once I asked a friend for another friend's phone number. He gave me a teacher's number. I then went on to send multiple messages in a fake angry tone to my unsuspecting teacher. Duck that diabolical genius of a friend. Dude was harassing my ex because he used to have her cell phone number. Was being a real ducking creep. Anyways, I created an email address, signed up to Kijiji, and placed an ad offering an 83D TV for free with some excuse about a bad breakup and not wanting her to get it. I asked people to only text or call. I then went to bed and forgot all about it until the next day at work. I get a text from my ex asking if I had done something on Kijiji. The dude was begging her to take the ad down and apologizing. I checked the email and there were 5 pages of responses even though I had told them not to email but to call or text. Dude's phone must have been ringing constantly. I took the ad down and she never heard from him again. I got a Harry Potter calligraphy set for my birthday years ago. It had Hogwarts marked paper, envelopes and everything. My brother ate all of my birthday chocolates from an ant that night, so I plotted my revenge. Next September I copied out Harry's letter word for word in green ink, only changing the name. I let him believe he was going to magic school for 2 whole weeks before I crushed it. Thank you for watching. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. For more stories, subscribe.